Hey guys, this video is being sponsored by thefluffyland.com. Right now, they're giving away free rechargeable LED dog collars. You only have to pay the shipping costs to redeem your collar. And there's a link in the description of this video that will take you to this amazing offer.
Dogumentary TV, producing the best breed documentaries on YouTube.
Origianal Cane Corso is one of many names for the working Neapolitan Mastiff. Cane Corso, Cane De Presa, and Neapolitan Mastiff were just three different names of the same traditional Cane Corsos. My name is Jimmy Monugian Jr. I am a Cane Corso breeder, enthusiast, owner, and I just breed traditional Cane Corsos. About 13 years ago, I met a guy named Jeremy Valdez, and I picked up a dog from him, fell in love with the dog. I was a 13-year-old kid. You know, my father owned a tow company. My parents were going through some problems at the time. I was living with my dad, and I just wanted a dog. You know, and I was telling my dad how much I wanted a dog. At the same time, my dad was looking for a painter to paint his tow trucks. Turns out he found himself a painter named Jeremy Valdez. He ended up, you know, talking to Jeremy and telling him, you know, my son wants a dog. I wanted a puppy. Unfortunately, Jeremy didn't have any puppies at the time. So I ended up getting my first Cane Corso that was 1.5 years old. And his name was Psycho. And I had him 10 years. 10 years. He just passed away about 3 years ago. But, I mean, within those 10 years, me and Jeremy, I don't even call him my breeder. I don't even call him my friend. Jeremy's like a brother to me. Before Jeremy, I didn't know what a Cane Corso was. You know, I was still getting familiar with what a Mastiff was. So when I met Jeremy, it was just, to me, he knew everything. You know, so and like I said, him working for my pops, he ended up moving real close to our shop where the dogs were kept, and anything I needed, any questions, I mean, it wasn't a phone call. I'd ride my bike to his house and, hey, the dog's doing this. Hey, the dog's done this. Hey, what do I do? You know, Jeremy was just always there for me, you know, when it came to the dog on a personal. You know, it was more than just a phone call. You know, me and Jeremy, we've just always been tight like that. My other mentors, Mike Sottile Jr., Saladin Salam, Derek Matson, he's a big Cane Corso breeder. Don Maschetti, he's a big Cane Corso breeder. Mostly Mike Sottile though. Mike Sottile has really become a friend of mine. You know, I started posting my dogs on Facebook. Pictures, videos, and my likes on Facebook just started going up. People started seeing my dogs, asking questions, and then finally a guy named Saladin seen my dogs, and he reached out to me and you know, basically just, he told me, you know, more of the history on my dogs, and he asked me if I knew who Mike Sottile was. At the time, I had no idea. And then he told me that I needed to speak to Mike Sottile. And when he told me that, you know, and after he told me the history of who he was, and, you know, I was just like, I can't talk to this guy. I'm just some kid, you know, that has dogs. And he's like, no, man, you have more than that. So I worked up the courage, and he already had talked to Mike about me. So when I reached out to Mike, he was waiting for my call and waiting for me to contact him. And when I contacted him, he had already looked at all my dogs and all that. And he basically just told me, you got it, kid. You know, you still got the old blood. So yeah, Mike Sottile, you know, we talked on the phone quite a bit. And you know, it started with dogs, you know, and it started with sending pictures of the dogs, sending videos of the dogs, and he told me that this dog reminded him of his past dog, and this dog looked like another one of his past dogs, and, you know, then pedigrees got involved. Once the pedigrees got involved, for my male tank, I only had a 4th-generation pedigree at the time, and Mike was telling me about, you know, of course, we'd go to the 4th generation, and he'd tell me the names of the I'm looking at the pedigree in front of me. Mike's on the other end of the phone, And, you know, he's telling me, okay, so go to your 4th generation, and here's this dog and this name and this registry number. He's like, now I owned his parents, and I owned his parents' parents. And he was able to tell me the names of those dogs, registry numbers, and I'm listening to everything. But later on, I was able to go online and go to the Cane Corso pedigree database. And sure enough, every dog that Mike said that he owned, and Mike said their numbers and their names, it all matched up. You know, and after that conversation that day, I was just kind of like, wow, you know, this is real right here. Jeremy's been doing it for 20 years, man. He's been involved with the old Corsos, original Corsos. He actually was fortunate enough to hook up with a breeder that directly got their dogs from the Sottile family. And you know, he was just a good dog breeder. Regardless of the breed, he was just a good breeder, and he was able to keep the same bloodline. And here we are 23 years later, and we still have that same bloodline, and now we know it goes back to the original Sottile family. The history of the breed, it's the Italian Mastiff. You know, the Italian Mastiff is capable of anything. You know, they were hunting dogs, they were farming dogs, they were herding dogs, you know, they were guard dogs, they were protectors. At the end of the day, they were family dogs. You know, these dogs came inside and interacted with the family and the kids, and I mean, to me, these dogs did it all. Well, in 1948, Naples, Italy, they wanted their own name of their own dogs in their town, and they chose the name Neapolitan Mastiff. And when they chose that name, that left the Cane De Presa and Cane Corso everywhere else, basically. It's still the same dogs. It's still an Italian Mastiff. It's 3 different names of the same dog. Now over time, they've been bred in different directions, so now they really are different breeds. So yeah, these dogs, you know, they're always working dogs. You know, as far as hunting, you know, they hunted wild boar. You know, these dogs were known. They'd grab a boar by the ear and take it down, no problem. They were real catch dogs. Working on the farm, you know, herding dogs. You know, herding cattle. They were capable of doing that. You know, guard dog, protection dogs. You know, any predator, whether it's 4-legged or 2-legged. They were, you know, they were protection dogs. They did it all. The temperament of the original Cane Corso, very stable dog. Very stable, also can be very aggressive. You know, very dog aggressive at times, but also very sharp. You know, these dogs were very, very sharp dogs. When it comes to aggression and protection work, you know, you know, the kids can use them for protection, and 1 minute these dogs can be on fire, and all they need is that one word, you know, whatever word you decide to use, but the minute they hear that word, these dogs are stable enough to know that it's time to stop. You know, they're that good at what they do when it comes to their temperament. When the breed became popular amongst kennel clubs, just like every other breed, they change. You know, they change, and they basically bred other breeds into this breed for what they wanted. You know, they said the original Cane Corso was too big. The original Cane Corso was too aggressive. You know, so to get these dogs in the show, they bred something else in it to tone it down and downsize it and give it a different look, basically. No one's ever really admitted to what they've bred into it, but any average Joe, anybody that knows about dogs, you look at today's Cane Corso, I see a boxer. Nobody will ever admit to it, but that's what I see. When you add a boxer into it, you downsize, and you basically soften the dogs. Less aggressive, you know, more better to put in the shows. The breed standard, there's an Italian standard, you know, that everyone pretty much goes off of today. All the different registries, FCI, AKC. All of them, you know, they follow this breed standard. Barshare was a dog that was a template for the standard. When Mike Sottile brought the dogs to America, he wrote his own standard. And that's the American standard that I go by today. The differences between the new Corso and the original Corso: the original Corso resembles more of the Neapolitan, but the old school Neapolitan, the working Neapolitan. You know, a lot of these new Italian enthusiasts wanted to get away from that look. So like I said, they crossbred another breed into them. When I breed my dogs, I breed for the traditional look. You know, dogs that resemble the old school Neo. You know, in 1949, the forefather, Wyoming. You know, that's the look I go for. The old working Neapolitan, Cane Corso, Cane De Presa, whatever you want to call it. The look, the temperament, that's what I breed for. My males usually measure from 26, 27 inches tall. My females usually from 24, 25 inches tall. Males anywhere from 110 to 140. Females anywhere from 100 to 120. I crop my ears and dock my tails because it's a part of the traditional look. You know, in history, that's what they did for the dogs. You know, they used it as hunting dogs and fighting dogs, and ears and tails just got in the way. Today, you know, we don't do so much fighting or anything like that. Hunting, yes, but it just all goes along with the traditional look of the dog. And that's why I crop the ears and dock the tails on my dogs. You know, my dogs, they're acting just like the old dogs are. Dog aggressive, yes and no. You know, I have a couple other dogs in my house, and they're able to get along with them. But it says that in history, you know, they're able to get along with other dogs that they're around. Other strange dogs, I can't speak for them. As far as you know, when it comes to people that I don't know, you can't come into my home when I'm not around. You know, you can't come around my kids. You can't touch my kids. Nothing like that. My dogs are, you know, they're just like the old dogs are. Tank, man. Tank's only a year and a half old. You know, he's a year and a half. He's already 120 pounds, 27 inches tall. Got that big block head, the saggy skin. A lot of people don't like it. I love it. Tank's my best friend. You know, Tank is really a great dog all the way around. He's like a light switch, you know. You turn that light switch on, that dog's ready to kill somebody. You turn it off, the dog will be your best friend. My best friend. My kid's best friend. You know, and that's all I want from him. Exercise, daily walks, you know. The dogs are great jogging partners. You know, I personally don't jog, but where I live, it's kind of hot. You know, so me and Tank and my wife, my kids, we go for walks later in the afternoon when it starts to get dark. And, you know, we actually got these really cool collars that light up, and they allow everybody to see us. You know, with these type of dogs, I don't recommend anybody walking up on them, especially when it's getting dark outside. So these collars really allow people, you know, to see my dog before they're even coming in a distance. You know, because this ain't the type of dog that you want to accidentally stumble upon. Yeah, just daily walks, that's about it. Tank, he swims a lot in the pool. He gets his exercise. And then the protection work, that's always a good workout for him as well. Tank is a house dog. Tank gets in the pool. Tank goes everywhere with me. You know, I take Tank to PetSmart, take him to Home Depot. Tank's just fine. Training and socialization is everything. You know, with me, sometimes we train every other day. Sometimes we train once a week. You know, obedience is everything with this breed. You know, basic obedience is all it really calls for. You know, even if it's 15 minutes a day, you know, the dogs need that attention. As far as protection training, you know, that's not for everybody. Me personally, I like to feel safe. I like to make sure my family is safe. And My dogs make me feel safe. And that's why we do the protection training that we do. Health issues facing the breed today, epilepsy is running wild. You know, fortunately for me, never had a problem. Epilepsy isn't a health issue for the old Mastiff dogs. Epilepsy comes from another breed. Hip problems, joint problems, very common with the breed. As a breeder, you should always evaluate your dogs before breeding to make sure these problems don't keep going on. All I want to say is the original Cane Corso, it still lives. There's a lot other breeders out there. There's some great breeders out there. You know, Derek Mattson, Don Machete, you know, those guys, they really do it big, and they're actually in the show ring with these traditional dogs. You know, the dogs are still around. They're rare to find, they're hard to find, but they're still there, and you know, it's people like me and my friends and Mike Sottile Jr. We're gonna make sure that we keep these dogs around for a lot more years.